Hello, Jacqueline from Jack Knits, and today we're going to talk all about blocking your finished work. Now, blocking is one of the very last steps that you can do to really take your project from looking kind of ordinary and kind of frumpy looking to really professional. What blocking does, it is that it relaxes the fibers of the yarn so that it will just relax and lay nice and flat. And you can then also shape it the way you want. So for this particular piece, this is a very long table runner that I knitted, and it is in desperate need of blocking. You see how it's just bunching up, the edges are kind of curling up a little bit, and it's just not going to lay flat on my table like it is supposed to. So what I'm going to do for my blocking technique is I'm going to submerge it into water, get it nice and thoroughly wet, then squeeze out the excess water with a towel. Then I'm going to pin it onto some foam mats and make sure that my edges are nice and straight and that it is laying nice and flat. I'm going to let it then dry for several days, and then it should be nice and perfectly flat. Okay, now I'm ready to take my garment and submerge it into some cold water. I just filled up my sink with some cold water, and again, I'm going to just submerge this into there. I'm not going to need to let it soak for any period of time. I just need to get it just thoroughly wet. So I'm going to place my garment in here. Just make sure that everything is wet very thoroughly. And then when I take it out of the water, avoid the temptation to wring it out like you would on washcloth. You don't want to do that because that will kind of twist the fabric and make it a little bit twisted. So instead, just kind of do a gentle squeeze, not a twisty motion. Now I'm going to take it and move it over to my towel. I might fold it up here a couple times. And I've got just a regular bath towel, and I'm going to fold my towel over and just give it some nice firm pats. Press down on it just to release all the extra water. You do not want it dripping wet. You just want it nice and thoroughly damp. Flip it over, go to the other side. Okay, now it is thoroughly damp but not dripping wet anymore, so now we are ready to take it to my mat and pin it into shape. So now what I want to do is I just want to make sure that my project is pinned in the shape that I want it to lay. So that means I want the edges nice and flat, my ends nice and down, and the corners in the right spot. So I'm just going to start taking my pins and starting with one corner here. I'm going to start following the little lines that I have in my block and making sure that this edge is nice and straight, and pin every 4 to 5 inches or so. You don't want to pull and stretch it too far, but give it a little pull so it kind of is nice and stretched flat, but not stretched unnaturally. I'll do that all the way down at this side of the table runner. I'm realizing I'm running out of room on my table runner, so I think I might add, I've got one more here that I can make it a little bit longer. I have 4 of these, and so I can either make it nice and wide or nice and long. So I realize I'm going to need that 4th or that 3rd mat. All right. Now I will do the same thing on the other side. And when I do the other side, I want to make sure that I'm kind of giving it a nice little tug so everything is straight and flat. And then we want to make sure that our ends are also nicely flat, since I'm doing the chevron shape, I'm going to make sure my tips are nice and pulled tight. Or not tight, but just, you know, naturally where they should fall. Nothing should be stretched beyond how you want it to lay. Add a few pins when you see things like looping kind of unstretched here. Either adjust these pins in so it's not being pulled. Maybe I stretched it too far. Or, you know, stretch the rest of it to equal this. But we don't want this kind of action, which I'm realizing is happening here. So I'm just going to kind of release it a little bit so it is nice and flat. There, that's a little better. Give it a final look. Make sure everything is laying just the way you want, that there's no unnatural bends or stretches in it. And now we are going to let this sit here for several days until it's completely dry. And that usually takes a good 2 to 3 days. Just make sure that it's completely dry, and then we'll take it off our mat and see what it looks like then. All right, well, this is completely dry now. It's been sitting out for a few days, so now it's time to remove the pins from the mat and see what our finished project looks like. All right, look at how beautifully flat this piece now lays. If you remember before, it was all bunchy and curly and not flat at all. So this blocking technique really does this great finishing touch on your finished project. It makes it just take it from mediocre to just a much more professional look. So I hope you consider doing this on your future projects to add that finished touch. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you learned something from this video, please give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to receive notifications on future videos all about knitting tips and tutorials. Thanks for watching. Happy knitting.